we'll have this discussion.
Discussion? What discussion?
This is a discussion.
Combustion.
Coming to you from Denver, Colorado, this is Discussion Combustion Podcast with your hosts, Kevin Batstone and Arthur Raw.
It's like a double, triple. We'll record it, make sure the audio is good before we even start. You know, just try and catch it before it happens, kind of thing.
Yeah. I performed. I also like make music from time to time, and I performed on a live stream over quarantine. And I made this super cool setup on this pool that overlooked like all of Denver, and I started performing and didn't see like the notifications popping up on my phone that were like, "Hey, it's like a broken signal." Oh. And I did this whole performance,
and no one saw it.
Nobody saw it.
How long was it?
30 minutes.
Okay.
So you were just rocking out for 30. No one got to see it.
Yeah, but the thing that sucked is like because it was part of this live stream festival, by the time I was done, they already had another artist on. So it was like true live stream.
Kind of a missed opportunity then due to the technology.
Totally. And I wish that I'd recorded it in advance because I could have just done that and like pretended it was the same time and whatnot.
So did you at least like troubleshoot and figure out what you did?
Yeah, I put my router in the sun and it didn't like that.
Oh, really? The router in the sun?
Yeah, it
was
like
the culprit?
80 degrees out and just like overheated. So when I did the test run of it was like still kind of cold out and everything was fine. And then by the time that I had to like do the performance, it wasn't. But I went back and like re-recorded like my best song from it so that I could put it up and whatnot. But
nice. What kind of music is it? Like EDM-ish or?
Yeah, like EDM-ish for sure.
Okay.
Like chill, vibey, live performed more so. So I don't really do the DJ set thing anymore. I make my music and I perform it with keys and drums and vocals and all the things.
Nice.
Yeah, I dig that for sure. I mean, I have respect for all musicians and creators, but there's something about when you're hitting the key on the right time, on the tempo, that adds that musicianship to it a little bit.
Totally. At the festival we did in October, I had this artist. So everybody, for the most part, played live, and that's like a huge element of what we want to do with it. But this artist, Haywire, he's like a jazz-trained pianist, and he was just ripping on the keys. And our content team picked up this really cool video of him just doing this outro to one of the songs, and he was just like jamming, and they were zooming in and out, and it looked so cool. The sun was setting, and it was a good vibe.
I mean, music can bring you to places, and that's the beauty of, immersing yourself in something, because, you're kind of open-minded enough to allow whatever emotions happen with that experience to flood in, and there's always like that moment like in a song where like it's just kind of hitting the right emotion and you almost feel like this complete like bliss, like
Totally.
Like you get this rush, this feeling of like
So good.
like pure like joy energy, and it's like, oh man, this song. And it's like it's cool because I mean I've dabbled with a lot of substances, but that feeling you can obtain just clear head of mind.
There's nothing like it. And like in the electronic scene, I listen to everything. My parents are huge Deadheads, and I grew up like all over the scene. San Diego in particular is like all 90s rock. But there's like this vulnerability aspect with electronic, particularly because people are used to seeing you behind DJ decks, like pressing a play button. Yeah. When you're up there playing keys and singing and like getting emotional with the song, people don't like in the electronic scene. People don't do that as often as I'd like to see. And when it happens, it's really special.
Okay.
Yeah, I like watching those performances because like you can appreciate the music listening to it. But there's something about watching a performance, when you see somebody ripping a guitar solo or Neil Peart going berserk on a drum solo or, whatever the case would be, a singer that's hitting that note and holding it. You just see that raw power happening live action. That's what makes performances and music so great is being able to watch it happen.
Totally.
So I totally get what you're saying, because usually, you got the DJ behind there. He's got his headphones on. He's rocking and he's turning buttons. But to see it live action coming to life, that's part of it, man. We all grew up, rock and roll fans, country, whatever you listen to. There was always something fun about seeing someone slam a guitar on the stage or whatever the case may be. Just that raw emotion.
Yeah, the chaotic energy of it all.
Love
I don't know. I saw Dead & Co. at Fiddler's Green like 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
With John Mayer, and God,
John Mayer's
the amount of musicianship on that stage is crazy, because they're, instead of a lot of bands, I think, you know, they rehearse their songs and then they'll go off and do a riff, and it's super cool. But the way they perform is really just like they're all thinking in the same energy together and vibing off of each other to create something super cool. And watching that happen between all these 80-year-olds and this younger guy, but still kind of keeping it together, was super special.
Hell yeah.
I've seen them a bunch of times.
Those collabs are the best. I love when they do stuff like that. You know, we're even seeing like Willie Nelson still out there ripping at almost 80 years old, you know, smoking his pot out of an apple.
I love
ripping,
Willie, man.
dude.
I love marijuana too, but you know.
Well, we know that, Arthur. But yeah, those collabs are great. You get two musicians together and they just feed off each other. And not every musician is going to have that synergy and synchronization with another.
You know, I took it for granted at the time, but in like, I think it was maybe 14 or 15 years old, my folks took me to see Peter Frampton's Guitar Circus.
Love Peter Frampton.
And he brought all these really cool guests out. And like I said, at the time, I was like, this is cool. But now looking back, you know, these are musicians that aren't around anymore. And it was really cool to see that kind of energy happen on stage.
Peter Frampton's great. I saw him at Fiddler's, actually, when he was
wow.
doing his acoustic tour. It was so worth it to see the man rip.
Yeah, he was sitting in a chair for us.
Was he? Yeah, he was kind of moving around when I saw him, but he played basically all of his all the classics that everyone knows and loves, but it was all acoustic.
Wow.
So it was like kind of that intimate vibe.
That's really cool.
I love acoustic music.
And I mean, music, and I mean, in general, it's a great way to express emotion, to feel emotion, to get people together. And wow, I went to the Lane 8 concert at Red Rocks when he went and did that, like, 3 weeks ago or something like that?
Wasn't it like 30 degrees at Red Rocks that night?
I mean, the music was so hot that, like, you didn't feel the cold. But I've been
there.
Oh, it was great, man. But like 2021's been like a huge transitional year for me. I've overcome some addictional things that I've been working on for over a long time, like half a decade. Got out of like a relationship where I was being toxic and also being treated in a horrible way. And like that show was the first concert that I've been to since I've kind of tackled some of those things. And that, I mean, I'm looking for the experience, right? Like I'm trying to notice it. Like I'm trying to notice those beautiful moments when I'm in those moments, you know, like not take it for granted. And that show was such an emotional experience for me. Like kind of I was, you know, kind of going through all of the turmoil or whatever it was and hearing the music back and dancing and everybody was feeling it. And like, it just like, and I was on edibles, you know, so I wasn't like doing anything crazy, but like it totally just, I felt so refreshed and just like, I felt kind of beautiful afterwards. I don't know if that's a good describing word.
You are beautiful. So.
Oh, thanks, man. Thanks. I don't know if I'm beautiful enough to put my booty online. But
That's true. That's a good statement. No one wants to see your hairy ass.
No one wants to see that, bro. No one wants to see that.
But yeah, I mean, like, talk about 2020, right? Like, such a transformative year for so many people, and especially you said that was your first event, like after everything that we've all been through.
Yeah,
and
first concert.
I think a lot of people feel that way. Is that like live music and that raw energy is something that only exists in a concert setting, and the forms of energy and like connectivity that only exist there. And when I had my first show coming back after like this whole year of like not being able to see music, which that's probably one of the most important things in my life, I felt the same way. It was really cool, and being able to take all these feelings that I'd had pent up from this year of being locked away in a house where you can't go and see anybody and all that, and just letting it out in this way with music. It doesn't exist anywhere else.
What a great year to write music too, because you know there was so much time. You just didn't have. You know, everyone's working from home, so even if you were doing your 9 to 5, you had nowhere to go after. So
tons of cool music coming out. I
Absolutely.
actually wrote a song at the beginning of quarantine. It was like mid March, right when things were starting to shut down, and my folks who live in San Diego, they're like, "Hey, you should probably come and spend some time with us because we don't know what the future looks like.
Sure.
We're entering the apocalyptic days." And so I drove out all in one sitting, like 15 hours by myself with
That's a
my
tough
dog.
drive, man.
Super tough drive, and around 12 hours in, it really starts to break your spirits. And I was like,
does.
I was really, really frustrated and just really upset with the whole world and like what was going on. And I got home at maybe 1 a.m. and wrote probably my favorite song I've ever made. And
The same night.
The same
right when
night.
you got home.
Yep.
Wired
yep.
up.
Yeah, exactly. Just like with all this grief and sadness and pain that like we were all feeling right at the beginning, just flowed out into the computer.
So do y'all agree with this? Because I've done a lot of sales in my days, and I'm going to tie this into car sales, is where I first heard somebody tell me this, but I had experienced it prior to hearing this. So when you're super tired, like kind of sleep deprived, like you get into this, it's a different realm of mentality, kind of like where you're almost a little slap happy, you're sober, but also there's like a level of understanding. Like, so in car sales, like some of the tiredest days, you would crush it the hardest. Like you would just kill it, but you're exhausted the entire day.
Kind of like coasting along in flow.
Yeah. And so I wonder if there's like something to that, because you're describing this long drive, this huge long commute. And then normally people, when they get to their destination, they're like, all right, time to take a shower. It's time to, relax and lay down and recuperate. But instead, you were in this creative zone, like where you were capable of making your favorite song.
Mm-hmm.
So do you feel like, I mean, I don't know how to attest that to being sleep deprived and how that could help people excel in certain areas, but maybe it's because you don't give a fuck as much. And so because you're not caring as much, then it's a little bit more raw.
Yeah, that could be part of it, but I think also when if you take somebody who's hungry and tired and all these things, all that's really left is emotion, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're angry and you're hungry and all these things, and when you feel those kinds of emotions, I think you can, when you don't have the comforts of lots of sleep, or the comforts of being full or anything like that, then you can really like put that energy somewhere if you want to, and that hasn't always worked for me. I'm not a musician, so to speak. I make songs sometimes.
Yeah.
But from time to time, if I'm in that kind of headspace where I'm just like, I need to get these feelings out some way and I don't know how else to do it, I'll put it in a song.
It's the best way to do it, man, for sure. I played in a band, the Ridge Runners, for a little bit, and anytime we were forced to write, like, okay, we're going to sit down Saturday, we're going to write, nothing creative really happened. I mean, we would come up with a cool riff here and there, bass line, whatever, like cool things would happen, but the pressure of like, we're going to write today, that's not where it happens. It would be I'd wake up at 1:30 in the morning and like I have to write this down.
Yeah, we call them producer hours. It's like
producer hours.
The 11 p.m. to 3 a.m. grind.
Okay.
That's where some creativity happens for sure.
Yeah. So like outside of like the events that I put on and that I work on, I also am a graphic designer and animator, and
Nice.
I probably do most of my work in that field between 11 and 3 a.m. because I don't know, I spend the whole day working on everything else, and then I get there, I'm like, I didn't get to exercise this aspect of my creativity.
So you are a grinder, is what you're saying.
Something like that.
You're keeping yourself busy. You're staying active, doing things that help you feel emotionally full. What brought you to that point? Because I know a lot of people, can be a little complacent, and maybe they're hard on themselves, and they're having a hard time finding the motivation to do the dishes, let alone work all day and then work on something else at night. So what would you say like was one of your pivotal moments that really pushed you into this mentality that you're in?
Well, I mean, I'll start by saying I always can't do the dishes.
For sure.
They're really hard.
Being humble is definitely part of the gig as well, man.
Yeah. But yeah, I was really, really fortunate that growing up, I had a relatively strong support system. I learned in middle school that I wanted to go into the music industry, and there's this movie called Clock Stoppers. It was like a Disney movie where this guy has a watch that can stop time, and and he uses this watch to help his friend win a DJ battle, and he's like scratching, and at first the guy's like performing terribly. He just can't get in the groove or anything, and then they pause time, adjust his posture, and he kills it. And I remember watching this like 6th grade, 7th grade, and I'm like, I want to be a DJ.
All right.
And, first inclination, most parents would probably be like, no, you can't be a DJ. But I went to my parents and I was like, this looks really cool. And they're like, well, it does sound cool, but, tell us more. And I kept telling them over time that I wanted to be involved in music. And I think it's probably 7th grade or 8th grade. They got me DJ lessons for my for Hanukkah.
Oh, that's so cool, man.
It was super cool. And so I went to the San Diego Turntable Institute, learned how to scratch and do the whole DJ thing, and then started like pursuing it as a little career. Like it's this little 14-year-old going to weddings and bar mitzvah parties, DJing for people and emceeing, and it was cool. And through that process, like I really learned that my parents trusted me to do this as a thing, like really dive into the music scene, and that I had their support. And as I started getting into high school, my principal and teachers and everybody, I guess who I looked up to, they also wanted me to kind of pursue this further. Actually, I think it was my sophomore year or junior year of high school, and my principal let me skip an entire week of school to go to a music conference downtown.
Wow.
And through that, I met this guy Storm Glure, who is the director of the music industry program at CU Denver. And I guess like what I'm getting at is in my childhood and early years in the music scene, I had a lot of support around me of people saying, if you want to do this and you keep yourself focused, you can. And that's always, I've really held that to myself. Whenever I've started a new business or something I want to do, I look at it through that lens of like, if I want to do this and I take myself seriously, I can. Like, why not? And I don't have to go through the things that I don't want to do if I stay focused.
That's epic.
It's a great outlook. That's a great outlook, man. And not a lot of people can get to that point too. We've all have dreams as kids. I wanted to be a meteorologist. That was my big thing. Like I saw
Well, you
weatherman.
are the chief
I am the chief meteorologist of DCPC. But that was like at a young age, 7 years old. I want to do that. I want to point to a green screen and tell you what the temperature is going to be. It was like one of those weird things. But from that, it translated into I always knew I wanted to be some sort of in the entertainment biz, whether that's musician, podcasting. So we're still creating that environment,
Yeah.
But you're right. You got to believe and achieve not only in yourself, but in your dreams, your goals, and putting one foot in front of the other and making things, proactively happen to get towards it for sure.
Totally. And I think it's like always about having the right mindset and right goals in mind. Like my friends in the music scene who have done it for the wrong reasons are no longer in the music scene.
Sure.
And,
People fizzle out, man, if they're not doing it, like you said, for the right reasons. That they're on a fuse. Like they don't have like a stoked magma core burning their their drive. It's a fuse.
Yeah, exactly. And the fuse burns out at some point. I think like what it really comes down to at the end of the day is passion, right? And like I'm a very passionate person about a bunch of things, and those things are the kinds of things that I've liked to surround my life with. Mm-hmm. Music, snowboarding, what have you, a bunch of things. And I am always so bummed when I have friends who are like, oh, I'm working this job and I don't like it and I don't know what to do. I'm like, well, if you could do anything, what would you do?
Mm-hmm.
And they give me this idea. I'm like, so do it. Just, go do it. And I think a lot of people have really cool ideas, but nobody has the passion, or not nobody, but a lot of people don't have the passion and the drive to just go after it. And I think if more people knew that they could, a lot of people would be doing the things they really want to do.
That's right, man. If it were easy, everyone would do it, kind of thing. And I think that's where that mindset falls. Complacency.
Mm-hmm.
We talk about that a lot on the show, for sure. I mean, the pandemic definitely enabled some complacency. I'll just, work my cush job, and put my dreams on hold, and then they end up having a family. Life happens, and then, they lose touch with it. But such accurate advice, for sure. It's like, what do you want to do? Go do it.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it's also a foundation of thought, too, as well, because, how you think, a lot of people don't think about how they think about. You know what I'm saying? So, like, the mind can run rampant, and it's always active. Until you start paying attention to your thoughts, you don't realize how, like, sporadic the mind actually is.
God, so many thoughts all the time.
But your foundation of thought, which I heard there, and fortunately for your upcoming and upbringing and stuff like that, is you had a foundation thought of, I can. Right? Mm-hmm. So it wasn't like there's no opportunities. It's hard to do this. That wasn't the thought process. If you want to really go do this, then you can.
Yeah.
And so that is, I feel like, one of the first keys is that self-drive, that self-belief. Like, you don't have to know how you're going to do it. You just have to know you can do it. And then things will piece itself together
Yeah,
on
you
the
learn
way.
along the way and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Yeah, I feel the same way.
So I think that's really cool, man. That's really exciting. And just to have that kind of mentality to where you're actually, building that foundation. But then also the mind wants to choose the path of least resistance naturally, right? Like the mind will start making excuses for things like, we all know the right thing to do. Like, I feel like through intuition, like most people can tell, like, hey, like I should probably do something different about X.
Yeah.
But the mind is within 5 seconds going to start telling you why you don't need to do that, why it's okay to just relax, why it's okay to be complacent. And so, like, I've talked about this before on the pod, but first time talking with you about it, and it's like there's this 5 second period of time where when you think about, I should do that, you need to just do it right away, or else your mind is going to try to talk you out of it within the next 5 seconds.
Yeah, definitely. And I had a really horrible creative rut in probably like the end of 2018. It was like 6 months of me just doing nothing. And I was still in school. I was at New York University, and I'd already created events. I was working on High Ground, but for about 6 months, I kind of just didn't do anything. I fell into this deep, dark depression, and everything that wasn't working felt like what I wanted to do. I was like, sleep more or clean my room, the things like to not have to work. And it was really horrible because I realized that I was just kind of pushing myself deeper and deeper and deeper. And it took until New Year's basically to realize, hang on a sec, I've lost sight of what's important to me, and I need to get back on the saddle. So
what do you think were some of the causing factors that led you to that place?
It was a girl.
Okay.
Start writing a song about it now.
A breakup?
No, not even a breakup, but just a toxic relationship. And I allowed this person to kind of drag me into this deep, dark hole that they were in. And I think a lot of us have probably been through something like that. And it's really challenging, but I don't know. Throughout that, it's that kind of thing where like you're like, all right, this won't happen again, and then it happens again. You're like, all right, but it won't happen again, and then through that process, you start to find yourself just falling deeper into the hole that's created through all those kinds of things.
Yeah.
I'm sorry for not being super specific.
No, but people have. I think it's good not to be specific, so that way people can hear it and apply it to their situation a little bit.
Yeah, and I think so. But at a certain point, I left New York for a little bit. I think I went like to a family function in Minnesota. It's like where my whole mom's side of the family's from. Okay. And having that distance gives you perspective. It always does. When you have a chance to step away and look at your situation from further away, whether that's physically or giving yourself that mental headspace. And I was in Minnesota, and I was just thinking like, wow, what I'm doing right now isn't good for me. And I know that, and I need to just take a deep breath and let it go, because it's never going to be good for me. And I just need to realize that for myself. There's that whole, what's the saying? Like, it's hard to say goodbye when you know that it's over, or something like that.
Sure.
And it always is, but I think that's when you can experience the most growth is post-event like that. You can really think about it in more detail.
Absolutely, man. I mean, through the pain is going to be some greatness for sure. And
Absolutely.
the hard time, what is it? Difficult roads lead to beautiful destinations kind of thing.
Yeah, and we're always learning.
We're always learning. But kudos to you for recognizing that Mike's situation right now is not where I want to be. You had that mindset. This isn't good. You took a time out, went to Minnesota, and said, man, I got to make a change here. And not everyone's able to do that, but it's important to recognize those feelings, because everyone's going to have them. A lot of us push it away, like the 5-second rule you're talking about. Your mind's going to talk about, no, it'll be fine. Let's give it another shot, that kind of stuff. If you know this isn't working, you got to make a change.
Yeah. I think the mindset that I've been living by for a while, but even more so now, and this really like resurfaced with the festival in October, was this idea that there are no problems and there are only solutions.
Yes.
And so like things were being thrown at me constantly, hurdles that were as tall as ever, and everything was really, really intense and really hectic. And the only way that I could get through it, instead of thinking the next thing that came my way, like, oh my God, what are we going to do? Just taking that step back and taking a deep breath and realizing, okay, this is the reality of the situation. These are the options that we can move forward. And and through that, that's kind of like what I think about life now is how can I take this hurdle or these challenges and make them something productive.
So I have one more. I have a point to make to that, but then I want to kind of dive into, what you're currently doing, and because we haven't really covered that specifically.
Sure.
But to echo your point on how there's no problems, there's only solutions, and what that actually means to actually, if you're actually critiquing that thought, like, because there's always going to be challenges in life. Like, I expect there to be problems, and I welcome them. Like, there's always going to be a challenge. I'm going to mess something up. Like, so when you are faced with a difficult or a problematic thing that you are kind of, on the fence about or hesitant to try to tackle that, just look at it like problems are opportunities, because every problem that you get is an opportunity to overcome that problem. But that's a mentality. Like, you have to have that mentality to see it that way, or else problems are problems, and I bitch about problems, and my problems are still my problems. Yeah. But if you have that mentality, like problems are opportunities, or problems are a way to help me build myself and help me learn myself, then I just think that's so important, to kind of echo on what you're saying there, because everybody has problems. Everybody has turmoil in their life, and it's a cold world. Like, and it could be pretty brutal. Like, you just walk downtown and you see the people that are like, struggling out there. Are they turning their problems into opportunities, or are they focusing on their problems as problems? And I feel like that's something that is just important in general for us all to maybe critique a little bit, because, we're all going to have a new challenge. And if we use that challenge as a module for growth, then we're constantly going to be growing.
Totally. And I'm all about the self-actualized growth, always and forever. And I think, like, when you think about problems, people are like, I have this problem. Well, what are you going to do about it? And you can sit there and bitch about it all you want, and I'm totally guilty of doing the same.
Oh, yeah.
Too many times, right?
We all have.
Yes.
But if you can take that kind of energy and instead of freaking out about it, which helps nobody, it certainly doesn't help you, and then turn it into something more like, okay, well, this is the reality of where things are right now. Time can't run backwards, so I can't go and change it that way. But, what can I do from here? And through that, you can kind of start thinking about all of the possibilities to fix the problem or overcome the challenge. And that's been really important to me, especially through the festival.
For sure. So talking about the festival, do you have your own business name? You work to coordinate events. Tell us a little bit about what you do and kind of where people can find you and kind of like your whole mission and what it is that you're grinding on.
For sure. So my name's Noah, and I run a company called Levitate Events. I've been putting on shows since high school. Post the bar mitzvah and wedding parties, I started putting on like super small shows, and they grew into something really cool and really big. And through Levitate Events, about 5 years ago, I had this idea with my cousin, who's not
a idea.
Yep.
Okay.
We were just smoking a joint. We're like, why aren't there festivals that are for stoners, like EDM stoners? Like, there's obviously reggae festivals and like people smoke weed at every kind of
correct.
Show.
That's true.
And so that was like the first point. Like, well, people smoke weed at festivals, but I agree. Like, why aren't there these shows that are chill, vibey, electronic things, like the things we listen to right now, that like exclusively capture that kind of energy? Because there's all these EDM shows, and I've been listening to electronic music since middle school. And at the time, I was listening to this artist, Casbo, who happened to be on our lineup this year, but I'll get to there. But yeah, I wanted to create this festival that really captured the essence of a chill, vibey, electronic festival where people are performing live and it's more intimate and emotionally connected than, say, like an Electric Daisy Carnival or these other massive experiences, which they're amazing and they hold their own value and everything. But I wanted this to be a little bit different and set aside from the rest of it. So that's where I've been these past 5 years. Is kind of like, I guess 3 or 4 of those years were really contemplating every single detail of what this thing could be. So
you've been planning this event out for
forever.
For over 5 years.
Since I was 18, yeah.
Wow.
That's incredible.
It was crazy. Yeah. It was just this.
And it still hasn't happened yet, though.
No, it happened a month ago.
Oh, it did? Oh,
yeah.
well, congratulations.
Thank you.
That's super exciting. So did you crush it like you expected?
I crushed it like we expected.
Fuck yeah. Fuck yeah. Hey, well, cheers to that, man. I mean, dude, hard work pays off, man, and sticking to something is not easy. I mean, Kevin and I, we come in here every week. We do this every single week, and a lot of listeners know, but we have a CQC policy. So consistent, quality content, consistency every week, good quality, good equipment, good cameras, all that. Good content, people like yourself, we open up, we're real, we don't try to play a character. But at that first piece, that consistency, it's hard to pull consistency out of yourself, especially if you're not used to it.
That's true, especially when you have pandemics happening and other the problems that we talk about where we're going to put the focus. So 5 years of development, man, for this event. What was some of like the toughest parts of probably organizing performers, stage, all that kind of stuff? There's got to be a lot of logistics to it.
Yeah, so this was supposed to be before COVID, and I guess it was supposed to be in the beginning of COVID, but then it happened, or then COVID happened, right? And so we had to push it back. It's supposed to be in April of 2020.
4/20, 20.
Yep, 4/22/2020.
Got it.
And we had the whole lineup locked together. That's what I do outside of my own events, is talent buy for venues and festivals like all around the U.S. through a company called Versa. But yeah, so we'd had this whole lineup locked together for High Ground Festival, and that's what it's called, for April of 2020, and then we moved it to October when everything kind of started going to shit. And then, I guess in like June or July we realized, all right, we're not anywhere near the end of this. So we moved it to April of 2021. By December, we're like, okay, we got to move it again, and then we moved it to October 2nd, just about a month ago. And I think at the end of April or early May, we're like, okay, it looks like the fog is starting to settle a little bit. Let's announce it. Let's see what happens. Worst case that happens is if we're still in this mess, then we move the date again. But we rolled the dice and everything seemed to work out okay. I think the timing couldn't have been better because we announced it right as everything was starting to come back online, right? Like there were starting to be a few shows at Red Rocks. There were starting to be these outdoor events, I think a few like smaller indoor shows with masks and whatnot. And so with all of that, there were some shows, but there was more of a clear path where we could announce without all the mishigas of all these other events. And that gave us a really wide open lane. We announced, and I think the idea and the goal that I had, which was create this unique thing that people resonate with, it struck people immediately. We had this whole storyline and all this art that matched it and everything. And when we presented it to people, I think they got it.
Yeah.
And so we announced, started selling tickets. They flew like crazy. We sold out during the festival. And all I've been hearing from everybody is, when are you coming back?
Okay.
That's fantastic. So great response from the critics and consumers, so to speak, and they want another one.
Yeah.
Where was it?
We're working on it. It was at the Levitt Pavilion. It's about 10 minutes north of here.
Oh, really?
Yeah, right at Ruby Hill Park, off of Santa Fe.
Okay.
Yeah, it's really close, like way closer to Denver than Red Rocks. And it's this natural grass amphitheater, independent venue, and it's such a beautiful space. You can see the mountains with the sun setting, and you look over your shoulder, and there's the city right there, and it's a really, really cool space.
I think I know where you're at. I think I saw an event there one time. I don't remember if it was a concert or something, but I know where you're at. Right off Santa Fe.
Yeah.
Grassy knoll I can picture. That's a cool spot,
Across
man.
the street from ACC.
Yeah.
It's like Caddy Corner, kind of.
It's next to
Platte River something.
Yeah, next to the river, next to that big golf course, Overland Golf Course.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a really cool space.
Nice, man. So what's the plan for is it going to be next year? Are you going to be able to organize it, turn around and do another one?
That's the plan. We're working on it right now. Hopefully, we're finalizing the dates like as we speak. It's possible that we'll end the podcast and I'll have the email I need to say these
Damn.
are the dates.
Nice, man.
But yeah, our plan is to move from a single-day festival to a 2-day festival, increase the capacity, and really just share this with as many people as we can.
That's exciting. That's really exciting, man. Yeah, 2-day festival, more opportunity for performers, bigger venue, you get more people involved. What would be the target, if you could, any venue in Denver, what would be the best one to have a festival at?
Oh, man. I mean, we had a conversation, I think, a week after High Ground about if we wanted to stay at Levitt Pavilion, because it's such a beautiful space, and any venue we go to is going to have the challenges that we need to work through. And there are so little working with them. They're this very turnkey venue. They have the built-in stage and power and sound and restrooms and all the things that most first-year, second-year, third-year festivals have to deal with, all these infrastructure issues that we didn't have to deal with, really. The space itself, I'd really like to go back to, and I think it's probably, at least for a good while, the home for High Ground.
Nice.
There aren't other venues that I want to take it to, but
That's cool, man.
Yeah.
So you're locked in on that spot. That worked.
I like it.
It went off without any issues. That's good. Yeah, why not? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Keep it there.
That's right.
Build the brand around that. I like that. What'd you think of the because you got me thinking about festivals now, and I watched a documentary about the Fire Festival, and I didn't know much about it. People were like, oh yeah, I remember that. I didn't know anything about it, and I watched this documentary, and I was like, man, what a shit show. It was a complete.
That one
What
that
a shit show.
they canceled and like oversold and
it
all
was
this
a
stuff.
disaster.
And, like, they didn't even plan on actually having
The
it.
one that has 2 documentaries.
Oh yeah, there's
Yes.
one on Hulu, one on like Netflix or
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
I mean, it blew my mind watching this. Like, how did this get so fucked up? These guys are promised like paradise. All these great performers are gonna be there. They get there, they're like eating tomato and bread out of like styrofoam. It was a shit show.
It was messed up. My first thought was, oh no, we're in the middle of investing for High Ground. What are we going to do? I think a lot of, we were talking to a lot of investors, and a lot of them were like, what about Fire Festival? And I was like, well, we are not them. But a lot of people aren't going to trust this guy right out of college who's trying to build this festival. And so that time period was a little funky.
Mm-hmm.
My second thought was, whenever I told anybody new about this festival, they were like, oh, is it going to be the next Fire? And I'm like, okay, like, why would
that
that
really
be the
left
first
a
thing you-
negative
It
impact on everybody.
Well, I think a lot of people thought about, like, festivals being extremely challenging to pull off, which, they totally are.
Yeah.
But with the right team, you can kind of put together anything that you want to. But it was annoying to have to go through that whole. I still hear it. Like, when I tell people I build this festival, they're like, is it a Fire Festival? It's like, why would you even think that?
Mm-hmm.
And then you'd be like, instead of no, it's not a fire festival. It's
a
a
fire
It's a
fest.
bonfire festival.
Damn right.
or it's a napalm festival. Like, I don't know what you stuck on from late 2019, 2020, but this is a new year, my friend. But it's just like people like that, where it's just like, all right, so something didn't work there, so now I'm going to be skeptical about everything.
It tainted the waters for sure.
Yeah, it's kind of like,
Put a bad taste in a lot of people's mouth for sure.
Yeah.
I didn't even hear of it. Like I said, that documentary is the only reason I knew about it.
It's really unfortunate, because I think a lot of the time these independent festivals are the ones that are, like, really trying to do something different. They have an absolute idea of what they want to be as a festival, and I think High Ground is no different to that. But the public perception is vastly different, and people see it as, these guys haven't done this kind of thing before.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know what they're doing. We shouldn't go. Which we were really fortunate to not have that experience with our ticket sales, and the event looked and felt
maybe the
amazing.
pandemic helped that, because
Probably.
Had
people
to
were
plan.
itching to get out. And
That too.
Totally,
know?
A lot of people said that this was their first event coming out of COVID. That's really cool.
Timing was key there, man, for sure. But now you built a portfolio. Hey, we pulled off this epic festival. And you can build on that. So when people say, "Is it going to be another Fire?" You say, "No, I already pulled this one off
Well, it's
last
going to
year."
be High Ground Part 2.
High
bitch.
ground is going. High ground's going higher. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
that's cool.
Higher ground.
Higher ground. The highest, and then there's always one higher. So that's cool. Is now you can build off that. So fuck the Fire Festival haters. But that shit. I mean, I can't imagine. Nobody was hurt, so to speak. I don't think any lives were lost down there. But what a mess.
What a mess.
What a mess for sure.
You
I don't
know,
know.
it's always going to be a mess, though, man. That's just life. And you got to, that's the thing. Like, there's always room for error, right?
Of course.
So, first of all, how hard are you going to be on yourself for that? And like we were talking about earlier,
Well, he is in jail, so
are you going to look at that like an opportunity
Right.
to be better? Like maybe he comes out of jail now and he's thinking,
I don't
okay,
know.
I won't try to rip people off like that again because that didn't work for me. But I don't know, man.
tough to say.
I think it's awesome what you're doing and how, your folks kind of supported your ambitions when you were young. My mother did the same thing for me. And so when I was 11, I decided I was going to be a rapper. And
Sick.
and I worked really hard on putting lyrics together and writing music and stuff. And I was in my senior year of high school, and I felt like my teachers didn't give a fuck, and like what I was learning was bullshit and really didn't have any value to helping me do what I wanted to do. And so I got my GED, and my mom really supported me, man, and she knew that I wanted to make music like really bad. And and so she hooked me up with like a Korg mixing board, and the show was old school. It wasn't like I can digitally make music. It was like, I got like the beat machine, and I got the mix board, and I got the synthesizer keyboard, and that's how I was doing it. But my mom hooked me up with that, at late 17, 18, so she believed in me, and her belief in me helped me like feel confident to try. And so, dude, I ended up making like almost 90 tracks in my full time doing music. I had a chance to to almost get signed to Warner Bros, but I was dealing with the shady local record label, and music is hard. Like, right, like there's a lot of opinions with music. Like everyone feels like they're the best, and especially in rap, like you're around a bunch of gutter people who, I'm the cracker of the bunch, like I'm the grain of salt in the pepper shaker, and so it's highly stereotyped, and it's just kind of difficult to make it. And honestly, I didn't know what the fuck I was doing either. Like I didn't know how to promote. I didn't and I was trying to learn those things. So it's in like without my mom's support and without her help, like I wouldn't have accomplished any of that stuff. And then this podcast also like scratches the same itch, because it's like we get to put a positive, like uninterrupted message out there to the people, and still create entertainment, still create a product. So eventually I'll jump back into music, I feel, but this podcast is like really, it's been like a second coming for me of creation, because it's just like, I get to sit here with my friend, I get to sit here with you, have some good beers. I mean, these aren't great beers actually, but enjoy some beers. And I don't know how I was going to encapsulate all that into a point, but man, it's just really important to try to pursue something that you love and listen to that, because too often like we might create obstacles for ourselves and not allow ourselves to really, seek what we know we want. And that's the tightrope of life.
Well said, Art, for sure. Kind of ties back to what we were saying earlier about, chasing your dreams and getting after it and doing things.
Yeah.
You got to be proactive to make it happen.
You got to pave the lane and, just keep working at the things you love to do. And it's awesome that you guys were able to put this together, too. Like, this is awesome.
So it's a
2
fun
years
project,
coming, man.
It's a really fun project. Every week we get to sit down with new people, hear about great experiences. I mean, you can count us in next year for the festival. Sign me up.
Yeah,
There's 2
let's
tickets
go.
right here.
I'm going to high ground, bro.
Let's go.
I'm doing that.
That's what's great is the networking, and then we can get some of our listeners in the Denver area to come aboard too. I love that aspect of it, reaching people, getting people's stories heard. It's incredible. It's incredible. And there's not a lot of it in the Denver scene, there's such a market here in Denver for for music, entertainment, podcasting, you name it. It's such a great city for it.
Totally. And people here are just like so supportive of each other. I feel like, I don't know, I obviously from San Diego and lived in New York and was a part of the LA music scene for a little bit. And people in Denver they want to go to the things. They want to support each other. They want to help each other. And they all want to grow together. And that's what I've
so true.
loved about being out here. I've been here for 2.5 years. And already my friends out here are some of my closest, and my friends in the music scene and the entertainment business as a whole. Like, we all want to help each other build something really unique and really special that can grow into something much larger than any of us on our own. And that's what's really special about this place.
Yeah, people are always, scratching each other's back, so to speak, and they're willing to help promote, and social media has been big with that too. But this is a good city for entertainment. We have a local Denver band coming on next week, and just excited to get more Denver entertainers in.
That'd be sick.
I think it's really cool.
That'd be awesome.
Oh yeah, man.
It's all about helping others, right? But helping others without expecting to receive anything back.
Mm-hmm.
That's the difference. Yeah.
Because if you can direct your life in that kind of way to where you're willing to try to create this theme for an event coming up, like what you do, or just able to put some hard to talk about issues on the table and let people hear that, and it's about helping others and not expecting anything back, man. I feel like that's a really great place to be, and try to acknowledge that, because I feel like people they have expectations, right? Like, oh, well, I did this, so I should receive X, and it's just like, well, should you, or maybe, I don't know, man.
Get your head out of your ass.
Yeah, get your head out of your ass, and let's go do hard work. Let's go do something that is going to challenge us. And like we were saying earlier, you don't have to know all the details. You just have to know you can. And that thought process of I can is so powerful, because just like, and I'm gonna go to an extreme here, but fighting wars and stuff, and troops trying to take an island, and respect to all the troops out there. I've never served, but respect to all the troops. Without that mentality, if I can go do that, or the whole unit thinking I can, nothing is gonna happen. And so it all starts with the foundation of thought, and I feel like that's just really important. And it sounds like you had fantastic parents that put you in the right direction and supported you.
They're pretty cool. I like
so
that.
so man, that's
Good,
just
man.
so badass. And then making the festivals happen. So what was your favorite moment of the first event? What was your favorite part of it, if you could take one moment out of it?
Oh man, the whole thing was the benefit of putting something together this large is you don't have to do it alone. And all the events that I've done up until this, I've pretty much I booked the artists, and I did the promotion, marketing, emails, whatever. I ran the show, and then, celebrated with my friends who came to support. Whereas this time, my friends were part of my team, and we all built this thing together, to the point where throughout most of the festival, I got to run around and enjoy it. I got to see what was happening, and that's something I've never been able to experience. So that alone is something really cool, and something I'm really excited about and proud of. My favorite moment of the festival was, and it starts with a little sad story, but we had to hold the doors. We had to keep the doors closed for an extra hour on the beginning. We had to finish production.
Mm-hmm.
And we needed everything to look perfect before people came in, is the bottom line. And people were at the gates, people were lining up, and they wanted to come in, and I was like, oh my God, we got to get these people in, but we got to finish building this thing so that it's as impactful as possible. And I remember my production team said, okay, we're ready. And this was an hour late, and the line was pretty long at this point. And I got on the radio and was like, all comms. We are ready to open the gates. Let's have an amazing day and show these people what this is all about.
Okay.
And as I said that, my team at the front near security let them know, hey, it's time. And they opened the gates, and I watched people sprint into the festival so that they could be at the stage for the first set. They were so excited to be there, and watching them more excited to be there than I was with 0 hours of sleep. It was really, really cool. And I remember I was near the main stage watching these people run in, and I had just enough time for a single silent tear, and then I had to get back on the saddle, but it was really special.
That's an epic moment, man. That's pretty cool just to see everything, because I'm sure it was a little stressful there. We got to push this thing back an hour. We need to tighten up, and then just to see people so eager to see it. That's exciting, man. That's a job well done.
And thank you. And I think that goes back to the whole no problems, only solutions. At that point, I was like, there's literally nothing I can do to open the gates any sooner. So I'm just going to enjoy this moment while I can. You know, production team is doing what they need to do. And once they're ready, the gates are going to open. And no matter what I say, it's not going to open the gates any sooner. We just have to be patient and breathe, and it'll happen. And then it did, and everything was great. You know, the whole run of show was fantastic, and there were no hiccups throughout the whole festival, which that's a miracle. That's crazy.
Everything went off pretty unscathed, so to speak.
Yeah, there were issues with, not issues, but many challenges during load-in and load-out that they're to be expected for sure. But the festival itself went without a hitch.
So how many people ended up coming to this bad boy?
Probably somewhere between 22 and 2,500 people.
Wow.
Damn.
I'll show
that's
you
a
guys
crowd,
some pretty crazy pictures after.
Yeah, well, definitely have to check that
Wow.
out here for sure. What time did the doors open officially, and then when did it end?
We were meant to open at noon. We opened at about 1:15, and then we ended at about 10:30.
Nice. That's
Awesome.
That's a full day right there.
Full
Yeah, it
day.
is.
Yep. It was really cool.
Now,
And
was
so-
there alcohol sales, or you know, you kind of geared it towards the cannabis side, but
Yeah, alcohol sales. So cannabis is a huge part of the culture surrounding the festival, and we built it deeply into all of the messaging, right? Like, it's very cannabis centric, but we had to be mindful as well, because we weren't saying, yeah, you can smoke your weed freely here. You know, it's city grounds.
Sure.
You can't do that. But we created an environment where people knew that the culture surrounding cannabis was part of our festival, and I think that was really cool. There were lots of alcohol sales. We had a lot of CBD vendors who were selling like CBD joints and,
Nice.
like bombs and all these things. And yeah, it was cool.
nice, man. Yeah, that's cool. I'd be curious to see some of the pictures and videos, and that's fun stuff. Count us in. I'm there next year.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah, sure,
totally down.
You guys should definitely come.
I love stuff like
down.
that. I've never been to something like that. I've been to music festivals, but not something kind of like tailored to what you put together.
For sure.
You take this for a minute.
Where you got to go?
I'm going to run to the restroom. I'm not torturing my bladder. I drank too many beers too quickly, and I have to get back to this.
How you do you, man?
I got to run.
Happens quickly.
You do you. So, no, that's good stuff, man. So, how does that look now? You know,
Thanks, brother.
turning the page, and you said you're going to try and run this thing again next year. Is it kind of the repeat artist? Do you go after new artists now that you have a portfolio built? You know, what does that look like?
Yeah, we're going after new artists. I think I couldn't have been happier with the lineup we had this year. It was Snake Hips and Casbo and Louis Vuitton, Haywire, Pluko, a bunch of other really cool people. So like our headliners were these international acts that are amazing, and that goes back. That initial conversation over the joint with my cousin was while listening to a Casbo song, and he was the first artist that I put on my like wish list of artists that I'd want to bring to this thing.
And he was
And
on
so-
it. He headlined it.
Yep, he was
That's
one
tremendous.
of our headliners, and it was so cool, so cool to see that play out, because he's one of my favorites, and seeing that and being the reason, or one of the reasons why it all came together, was really it was a huge moment for me, and I was really proud of that. Next year, since we're upscaling, I get to work with more artists that I absolutely love, and they're people that I never thought I'd get to work with on a personal level like that. Like I said, I do talent buying with venues and festivals like all around. And so these are artists that I book frequently for other promoters and for other clients and whatnot. But this is going to be something that it more or less is a passion project, and getting to bring together all of my favorite artists for my festival is a really cool thing.
That definitely is. And then when it comes to the marketing side of it, because we all know how important social media is and the reach that can have, what's because I'm still trying to learn it too with this game, man.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when it comes to when we drop apps and promoting it on IG or wherever the hell we put it, you know, there are certain algorithms, there's things that work, there's hashtags. What's your, you know, because you seem like kind of an expert in this category when it comes to reaching people, promoting and marketing. What's the strategy there? What do you find like works the best in reaching an audience you're trying to reach?
So I'm not a marketing person. I'm horrible at ads and email marketing, and the one thing that I'm really good at is content.
Okay.
And creating a compelling story that people believe in and want to be a part of. And I think if you kind of have that sort of content in tandem with
a good marketing team.
Yeah, exactly. With somebody who knows how to share that with people in the right way, that's probably how you can be like the most effective. So my marketing this year was a mix of me and my marketing director, who really knows how to use ads. Excuse me, these beers.
You're good.
But yeah, ads, email marketing, social media posting. I'm the kind of person who won't post a social media thing unless I'm told I have to.
I gotcha.
Okay.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's good to hear that side of it too, because you think, well, you just do it all. Well, no, it takes a team, like you had mentioned earlier,
It
to get
takes a
this thing
village.
off.
It
For
takes
sure.
a village for sure. But yeah, I would create the content based on the needs of the week, and it was really hard as a first year festival that doesn't have photos and doesn't have videos of this whole past year event, because it was our first year. So we didn't have much content we could use. We had to create everything from scratch. And that gets a little stale after a little bit, right? Like if you can't use photos of your event, if you can't use anything but your small set of graphics, how do you make that a compelling story? And it really comes down to the messaging and the words that people feel compelled by.
That's a good outlook on that. Yeah, while you were gone, we were just kind of touching on the marketing side of it, and I was curious to how we got it to the viewers and listeners and kind of stuff like that. But you're basically saying you branded it, you developed the story, and then the marketing team got it to the right people and got it in the right area.
Yeah. So like we have the story of like how the festival came to be and what the festival is all about, but we also built in this narrative of, it's called like a hero narrative in events, that basically gets people involved and active and excited, and kind of like built into whatever the event is or experience is, right? And so we built this hero narrative with the concept being, we use the spirits of animals native to Colorado to weave together this tale of connectivity and togetherness through this lens of like, okay, we're all coming out of this kind of broken world, post-COVID and everything, and we need to work together as these to help bring these spirits of these animals back to the spirit world, because they're trapped right now. And through that story, and I think it's something we want to incorporate more into the festival as a whole next year, but it's an extra layer that people can read and dive deeper if they want to. And I think giving people that opportunity, the people who want to explore more will. And so if you give them that kind of that content and that discovery aspect, it's really, really awesome.
Well, I mean, and I agree with what you're doing here, because when you have something that you want to accomplish, like what that is, right? All right, I want to accomplish this.
Mm-hmm.
But then you start piecing it together and being like, what does that mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what do I want that to mean? Like, because when you can create like that story, what you're talking about, that narrative piece that speaks to what you're doing, then the end goal has that energy embedded everywhere within it.
Yeah.
So regardless of where you put it, regardless of how you market it, then you're still going to have this product that is creating this energy because of the stories and narratives that you created for it. And like within that, like, is like what you said, people who wanted to dig deeper found something to dig for, and like, just like Kevin and I, like, I do this every week. I'm like, Kevin and I.
You just say it a lot.
Yeah, and I'm always like,
speaking on my behalf.
Yeah, I always speak on his behalf, and I'm usually right.
We'll save that for next week's episode.
I'm just joking, but it was like about 13 episodes in before we really started to understand what it was that we wanted to accomplish, because we didn't know.
Yeah, I still don't even know if we know what we were trying to accomplish. We just show up, kind of going off what you were saying. I mean, I don't even know if there's a clear goal to accomplish other than the CQC, drinking beers, meeting great people,
to include anybody and everybody.
Well, the mission statement
from
is
all
that.
walks of life.
Yeah, and just
be critical, accepting, and loving.
I know our mission statement, Art. I'm just telling you, every week it's not like, okay, tonight it's going to be this.
Oh, correct. Sure. Yes.
Well, I mean, from an outsider perspective, you guys tell a compelling story, and you include people in that compelling story, and it's always different, right? Like, through all of these conversations, we've talked about so many different things and so many themes that I think a lot of people could probably resonate with, and that's really cool. And back on what you were saying too, have you heard of do you know who Simon Sinek is?
Is it a musician?
No, he's an author.
Okay,
and
then no.
He had this TED Talk called The Golden Circle.
Okay.
And I was forced to watch this in college. It's amazing, though, and I'll send you guys the link later.
Yes.
But he created this concept called Start with Why, right? And so there's businesses that know what they do and how they do it, but not many know why they do it. But the most successful companies start with why. They know why they do something, then they know how they do it, and then they make it. So, like, I don't know, if you look at TiVo, right? It's a business that doesn't exist anymore, really, because DirecTV just has the record button. But they said, we have this thing that will record everything that you're watching without you telling it to. Do you want it? People are like, that's creepy, back off. And then DirecTV came around and be like, if you could record any program that you love to watch without having to even think about it, would you want to? Mm-hmm. And everybody's like, hell yeah. And they're like, well, here you go. And same kind of thing with Apple. They're like, we believe that computers should be easy and fun to use. We happen to make great computers, and here's the MacBook. Do you want one? And everybody was like, absolutely. And so that's kind of something that, after watching that, it was really compelling for me, and something that I've built into everything that I work on is starting with why. Why is this festival a thing? Why is it important to me? How am I going to build it? And what is it? Mm-hmm. And that it's been really important to me as, I guess, like an entrepreneur or, young business professional. And
so have you found a common theme to your why? Do they like all kind of like run similar train tracks, I guess is what I'm saying?
Yeah, I guess it really depends, right? Like, in the middle of quarantine, I almost started a subscription puzzle business. And the whole idea was that you would pay the subscription fee per month, and kind of like a snack box or whatever, you would get this puzzle and you'd solve it, and you would either send it back or keep it forever. But the differentiating factor was like, we would partner with artists all around the world so that each of our puzzles was a one-of-one limited edition thing that you could never find anywhere else. So you're making this puzzle, you're putting it together, and nobody else in the world has it. That's really cool for a lot of people who like to be a part of the art scene, who want to see art and have art, but don't have the ability to go and buy this like massive expensive thing. And then they get to put it together and have it as their own. And then they can either send it back or buy it out. And I think like the why for that was really, I want cool art, and I don't have the ability to go spend hundreds of dollars each time I want a new thing to put in a frame. And so that was probably the why for that. Whereas like for the festival, it was like, I think that there should be festivals that don't have to go so damn hard for a full weekend.
Yeah.
And that was kind of like the driving factor of it. A festival for the stoners. So I think everything has its kind of why. And
yeah,
when I speak about the things that are important to me, that's how I try to formulate the conversation. Is like, why is this important to me? And then go from there.
That's a great perspective, man. I'm going to try to apply that to a lot of things that I do. I feel like that's thanks for sharing that, because that impacted me for sure. I like looking at things through different lenses, and that's a great way to look at it,
I think it's a nice way to look at it, and a different way for sure.
Well, I mean, like I do my best to be mindful of my thoughts, but I haven't had that focus of, what's my why, to say, because it's like, I can be motivated and have drive to accomplish goals, and sure, I want to, but like, I feel like I'm helping people, but do I really centralize that thought and focus on that to like, why is this? So I think that's like Kevin said, it's a cool, different perspective to question why you're even doing something in the first place.
That's good. It's good advice too.
It really comes back down to passion, right? And Simon Sinek's whole point is that people don't buy what you do; they buy why you do it. And so when you're giddy excited about the things that you're working on, the podcast or the festival or whatever it is, people see that and they resonate with it. They're like, there should be a podcast that people can shoot the shit and talk about real things for an hour, 2 hours, whatever it is. There should be a festival that doesn't go so hard, and that's just super chill and vibey, because that's something that I would love too. And I think I think that's where it really comes down to the resonation.
Super solid, man. You see it all the time too. I'm a big Shark Tank fan. I like watching these, entrepreneurs and new business owners and, all these cool ideas coming up. But one of the most common questions that the sharks ask, these entrepreneurs is, why'd you start this business? How did it start? Why did it start? Mm-hmm. And oftentimes that'll determine, that can be the make or break of the deal and the investing offer. So I like it. I think it carries a lot of weight for sure.
Yeah. So what's your why, listeners? What is your why today? I'm doing the camera.
I'm looking at that one.
Oh yeah. Oh here. Yeah. We could, yeah. What's your why over there?
What's your why?
Exactly.
That's going to be the hashtag of this episode. What's your why?
Yeah. I mean, it's a great question though, man, because too often we're getting bombarded with, I got to wake up, I got to get ready, what's on social media, let me check my likes and stuff, and I'm going to go to work, I need to eat in the mix, and we're so busy, right? Like, we're so busy trying to accomplish all these things and all these tasks every day, day in, day out. Do you ever just slow down to think, why am I showing up to this job? Why do I or don't I feel fulfilled with this job? It's like, instead of just going with the flow,
people get stuck in the machine.
So true, man. Complacency. Going back to what we talked to earlier, it's easier. And I've said this quote many, many times on the show, but it's people tend to do more to
avoid.
Don't be stealing my quote now.
Wait, say it together.
Well, this actually
1, 2, 3.
People will do more to avoid pain than they will to gain pleasure.
Damn it.
Yes.
Hey, that was pretty good.
That
was horrible. What are you talking about?
And that's actually, shout out Coach Corey Wayne. That's his quote, but I say it a lot on the show because there's a mindset behind it, right? Complacency. We're going to do more to avoid pain. What does that pain look like? Starting a new job, moving to a new city.
Dude, my relationship was toxic for years, and
go.
I avoided leaving that relationship, even though I knew for a couple years before I left it. I'm guilty of that too.
We all are. We've all been that mindset, and that's typically that complacent piece. So, in those scenarios, it's good to ask why. Okay, like you said, I need to make a change here, right? And that's doing more to gain pleasure than avoiding the pain. Mm-hmm. And I think it's not as easy as just, okay, I'm just going to do that tomorrow, right? It takes a conscious effort for sure. It goes back to the mentality piece that you brought up for sure.
Like, you really want to do, if you really want to do something, like if you really want to master something and you want to accomplish it, then you're going to need to do it every single day.
Yes.
10,000 hours.
Yeah.
That's the rule.
Wait, how many?
10,000.
10,000 hours.
That's the rule of thumb to become a master at anything.
Okay. 10,000 hours.
10,000 hours.
Yep.
So,
and you know what? Sky's not the limit. That's not the end. It can go further than that.
Maybe it's 1,000 hours. 10,000 seems like a lot.
1,000 hours.
Hey, either way, like, go for 10,000 because don't cut yourself short.
Why not? Keep working.
So I'm rereading this book that talks about how your mind works, how repeating thoughts helps your mind develop, like affirmations, how it helps your subconscious automatically direct, because your subconscious is recording every single event in your life, and negative or positive. So if you can speak to your subconscious with a positive affirmation, then eventually your subconscious will start speaking that back. And they were saying, in order to actually influence your mind with a positive affirmation, you need to do your short sentence or phrase that is positively worded and phrased 5 times a day for 2 minutes each time for like over a month. No, wait, it was 90 days. It was 3 months. So to actually imprint a new thought into your mind to where your mind actually takes it and believes it, you have to do it 5 times a day, 2 minutes each time for 90 days. Wow. That's a commitment.
It's big.
And it's hard to like, and I'm saying it's hard, but because it's the truth, like you have to expect for your mind to wander, for your mind to doubt yourself, for like it's not going to happen. But like if you can stay focused on that thought and really accomplish that goal, like you thought about your festival for 5 years before you did it, right? Like you were on that. You were thinking about it. It was in your head. You were trying to think about ways to do it, ways to accomplish it. That's way more than 90 days, brother. And so like that's why it came together and like made this energy, is because you had the mental discipline to stay in it regardless of the challenge. And that is where the winners are made. in that process of actually applying and believing in yourself through your self-doubt. Fuck external doubt. Every problem and solution is within us. It's all here. Every problem and solution in any of our lives is in us. And so we have the capability to overcome any problem in our lives. We're the solution. We're the problem. So it's so cool, though, to kind of hear that, because I think about this stuff all the time. And, you know, this podcast has given me this vessel to get to know people who are grinding and doing positive things in the world, man, and to see, like, your work that you did, and, like, you're talking about the story of how, like, satisfying, oh, shit, this whole hour, God, like, I've been trying to do this for 5 years, and now people are waiting, and I have to wait this hour. But instead of freaking out, you know, you took that moment to, like, really put it in the hands of people that you trusted. And then that like, when you were explaining that moment of when the doors finally opened, people were so excited, I got goosebumps when you said that. I did, I swear to God. And it's because it's the truth, man. I felt that energy of that moment, but that moment didn't happen just then. That moment had been in your mind for 5 years prior to it happening. So I just think ain't that some shit? You know what I'm saying?
It's a powerful app for sure, man. There's some good juice on there, you know, and you're going to continue to do some great things, man, and love to.
We all are.
Yeah, that's it, man. And what's our why? You know, we got to ask ourselves that daily. I feel like that's going to be something I'm going to include in my regimen now. What's my why today? Why am I doing this? Why am I drinking another beer? Well, because I want to, kind of thing, right? So that's good stuff. That's my takeaway from this episode for sure. You're doing some great stuff, man. We love to get repeat guests on this program too. So we'll check back in with you definitely before the next festival fires off. Right. You know, assuming you're going to have some availability to come down.
What is your thought on when's the next one going to happen?
I mean, ideally, we would do it again early October of 2022.
Okay.
I don't want to...
Tentatively, I mean, you said the emails are in the cyberspace working right now. They could.
They are. I don't want to jinx myself.
Yeah.
But early October, hopefully a Saturday and a Sunday. And, I'm hoping I can announce dates, like, get ready, High Ground 2022, these dates.
DCPC is coming to that MFer.
Absolutely, we're going to be there. And, you know, this is the part of the show where it's time to promote your stuff, man. Where can people find you on Instagram? Where do they go to get involved with the festival? What do they need to know? And we'll include them all in the show notes down below, too, viewers.
Right on. Appreciate you. So you can kind of see what I'm up to on my Instagram. Is probably the easiest. You can find me Noah S. Levinson. And then all things High Ground related, you can find it on any social, High Ground Fest, or the website highgroundfest.com. And right now we're about to release our after movie for this past High Ground, and It's beautiful. It's really fucking beautiful. And I think it captures all of the moments so well, including people running into the festival. And so if you guys want to watch that, I think you'll like it a lot. And then, I'm pretty reachable. Feel free to drop me a line whenever.
Excellent.
Oh,
yeah, we'll put some tangible links in the show notes down below, as always, so it's easy for our viewers to find you.
Thank you.
Yeah, man, for sure. This was a powerful one. I like it.
I love having you in, man. I'm so excited. Conversations like this help my soul feel full and to keep moving forward, because God damn it, you know that there's more fucking work to be had, and we all got to get this, and you know it's not always going to come easy, but like, accept the problems and welcome the problems, because if you can welcome the problems and smile through that whatever drama issue and have a smile on your face and, you know, see the value in an issue, then God bless you, because that is a mentality that is helping the world become a better place. And Noah, you got one of those mentalities.
I appreciate it.
Such a pleasure getting to know you, man.
Likewise, it's been a pleasure being here. One more cheers to that.
Oh, hell yeah.
I don't have one. I threw mine away.
Cheers
but
to the boys.
I'll give you that.
Yeah, thanks, Kev.
Cheers, gentlemen.
Yeah, thank you guys
Always
so much.
fun.
This has been great.
Absolutely, man. Wish you continued success. Love what you're doing, providing people with entertainment, putting together great stuff. We're going to get you back on for sure before that next fest, and count us in. Give us 2 ticket sales sold for sure.
Yeah, we're coming. We're gonna promote it too once it gets close. We'll throw you some extra promotion, and everybody out there, just, you know, let's be a little critical of ourselves, but in a good way. Like, let's not be overly hard on ourselves. It's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to fumble and fall. It's okay to have self-doubt, but just get up. Don't stay there. You know, we can accomplish whatever we believe we can, and I believe in you can accomplish anything you want.
Absolutely, man. It's that mind power. You know, what are you going to put your energy in today? What are you choosing to focus on? What's your why? Like that. That's going to be, I think, the new hashtag that sticks, man. That's good stuff. But truly,
Find your why.
Find your why. Yeah. If you don't know what it is, we'll find it. It's in there. You just got to search for it. You know, do a little searching, man. Do a little investigating. Get your magnifying glass out. Do what you need to do. But, man, we got Sin on 6 in studio next week, local Denver band, rocking that heavy metal. We're going to have four heavy metal rockers up in here. Don't know what that's going to look like yet. It's probably going to be chaotic. Can't wait for it, though, man. I'll be in Phoenix, Arizona this week for the NASCAR Championship, so if anyone's attending that, come say what's up. And you know what? Y'all be good to yourselves. You deserve it.